Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, o see them yopo.
Memo akwaba edeba PENDREAM TV so me sure say any day they can awutie ya be subscribe to your channel no click bell no so say the news to our son sabit me aka intem no atie na sembe ni nsa kan de bro lithium I say ya discover o man mu ha aban akosan contract any company bi the omonsa share krata say omo kire say company ni into lithium no omo mayemu 10% no na private legal practitioner a friend Isaac Mintalabi ababontin abeka say sa contract ya o man ya kosan enya contract papa na lazy approach contractor sa contract magan enya faso bia wo lithium a nyame de a chen as say ya ba betu no chiremu a company a o man ni no assign sa agreement no company no na ebekwa ebetu lithium no ma koton no ma beka kire say na omunya yenti 10% omo enie na ochiremu akoba ne sa Ghana sa company na friend Atlantic Lithium ombesisi ebebra yenya mfaso bia enfree sa lithium ya abepri oman mu ha yetu menkasa bebre mepese yebekọ no makobo video na kire no ahwe kwan lawyer ifa so kire sa lithium deal mu pefe ma obianya mu ntiase yenkọ ne yenkọ video.
So let's do a quick one. You've actually, made your voice heard also on the debate ongoing on the lithium lease. And you say that you disagree with Sam Jonah, if I'm correct. And you say you have also read the full agreement and you can confidently say that it in no way will benefit the country. Why this position?
Well, good morning to your listeners. Good morning to my colleagues in the studio, and thanks for this opportunity. The bottom line is that if you read carefully my press release or article on this subject matter, you will find that I argue from a certain angle, and that angle is the nature of the contract that has been signed. And then you will find that essentially, there are three major types of contracts when it comes to, minerals, extraction, development, commercialization, etc. Now, in these three kind of different contracts, each one comes with its limitations and, benefits. The highest and the best has proven over the years to be what we call the service contract. Because in that contract, you basically pay the investor to produce for you, and then you retain 100% ownership. Of course, it could be variated to some extent, but the bottom line is that is the top of the line. When we talk about all the agreements, the number one and the best is the service contract or agreement. From there, you move on to the joint venture or the production sharing agreement, PSA. In this contract, it's based essentially on percentage basis. Then, of course, you move on to the list. And for me, I keep on insisting, I call it the lazy approach, which is the lease agreement, which we have been, as a country, signing all these years for pretty much all our minerals. The ones we know, and until recently, the lithium. You find that in any lease, ownership changes hands. For example, if you build a property and you rent it out, it is a lease. The lessee becomes the new owner of the property. And in law, you have to give peace and quiet enjoyment of that property to the new owner, which is the lessee. So if you enter into a lease agreement for any mineral, ownership is lost, essentially. The only thing that you benefit from is the royalties, the taxes, the levies, and all those things. But you see, if you compare that to the service agreement and that of the joint venture, ownership is retained in the above two. But when you come to that of the lease, you lose it. And the ownership is what entitles you to be able to manage the numbers and have access to the numbers, which will ultimately determine the income or the profits that the government can derive. So let me give you an example. In a leasing agreement, the government does not own any part of the company. That is one. Two, because you don't own part of it, essentially, or they say carried interest, but carried interest comes with a lot of limitations. For example, you may not have a board member of the company. You may not operate in any managerial role of the company. And that is where you get access to the real-time numbers, the figures. If they are selling 20 and they come and tell you we sold only 5, how would you know? If they sell 100 at the price of 1 cedi and they come and tell you we sold 5 at the price of 50 pesos, how would you know? So at the end of the day, I do not know of any leasing agreement which has developed a country. If anybody knows of any leasing agreement in a mineral resource which has actually benefited the country to the extent that they are fully developed, well, I'll revise my notes. But what has actually proven over the years to be developing countries is the service agreement, and to a larger extent out of the joint venture. And so my concern here is that no matter how hard you try to twist and turn a leasing agreement, it can never be amongst the best. You know, I've seen a couple of articles that other people have written, you know, in defense of this lease agreement. And some even go to the extent of saying that, you know, based on the numbers, you can even make more money even in a lease agreement than a service agreement. And my concern is that if that happens, then it means the service agreement was poorly done. Because there's no way you enter into a service agreement and somebody in a leasing agreement comes to benefit more than you. It means it was poorly executed. Yeah, so that is where I am coming from. And for all these years, we've used the approach of a leasing agreement. And so far, we have nothing to show. So why should we continue? That is my question. When there are other alternative options out there, which are proving to be very good. One major concern others have raised is the fact that we don't contribute money to take the risk into, you know, prospecting and exploration of the mineral
Exactly.
resource,
I was actually going to raise that point, because with service contract, that it means that you would have to go into that. And we have also raised concerns about how geological survey has not been, you know, financed to carry out such works. And so we are unable, you know, to come from that angle and go for even a service agreement if we think that that's deemed best.
Yes. That is a concern, but you see, there are so many ways of approaching it. For example, you could pay off the investor. How about that? Whatever money he has invested into the exploration, you could pay off the investor. And the law, it is the one who spent his money. And so he has the right of first refusal. And that right of first refusal, what you do is that once you pay off the investor for the risk he took and the money he has spent, probably this one, I call something we call financial engineering. You understand? And so you could work out numbers in such a way that the investor gets compensated somehow, but he gets the full returns of his investment. That is one option. And that gives you the country the leverage to say that, okay, now I've paid you off. And so you have the right of first refusal. My option on the table is a joint venture or a service agreement. If you are ready, you know, you can propose some terms. We can discuss, we can negotiate. That is the point. You see, what I'm saying is that the world is moving away from fossil fuel, because the current technology we have in this world is built around fossil fuel. Now the world wants to move away from fossil fuel to green technology. And lithium forms one of the core base of this green technology, which the world is trying to move on. And so if you are lucky as a country to be able to have this kind of mineral, you don't shortchange yourself in an agreement that will always keep you down. That is my concern. Because you see, then the future that is coming, you are already, you know, limiting your ability to be able to access enough. If we were unable to do that in the past, there's a future that is coming. We must do things right now. We could also do what we call capitalization, the process of capitalization in which the investor, you know, as part of a joint venture, could capitalize his investment over a period of time, which he gets all his money invested in the exploration, you know, over a period of time. So we could engage in financial engineering in such a manner that we quickly do away with all these leasing agreements, go into a joint venture or probably a service agreement, so we can have tremendous benefit. That is where I'm coming from. So if you put a leasing agreement before me, I'll reject it, because I don't see how you can tweak it to make it better than a service or a joint venture in which I have the control, I have access to the numbers, and so I know you sold 100. If you sold one at 2 cities, I know you sold it at 2 cities. So if a mine is 40%, I can do my calculation and I'll know exactly how much I can make. But in a leasing agreement, it's the person that goes to the market and brings you the numbers. So if you go outside there to tell you I sold 1,000 and then meanwhile you sold 5,000, how do you know? That is why we lose. You see, I'm telling you that the reason why we lose, we don't make money, is that we don't control the numbers that are given to us. It is the investor who generates the numbers. And so he determines how much you make at the end of the day. So it is not the paper agreement. It's about you retaining ownership in a manner that will allow you to have access to the numbers. If you look at a statement that was released yesterday by Fuichi Kata, one of our renowned, lawyers, what he was proposing, to fix this kind of particular problem was
together.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, what they were proposing to resolve this kind of particular problem was that the government could hire a commodity research company that can provide the government with, pricings on the market. But the question I'm asking myself is, if you own the resource, you can own the company, then you can have access to the real-time numbers and know how much you can get. Why do you ship off the resource to an investor, lose control over the numbers, and then go and look for money to go and hire a commodity research company to come and provide you with the numbers? I mean, how? Why would you do this to yourself? That aside, how much money are you making in the first place to want to even give money out, take money out to go and pay a different company to come and give you numbers? It could even lead to dispute. You know why? Because whatever numbers that research company will bring to you, the investor can dispute it. They can dispute it. So why would you put yourself through this kind of situation? I disagree entirely.
But you spoke with Mr. Isi, and according to your article, there are some novel part of the lease that he said was going to be beneficial to Ghanaians. What do you make of those novel clauses?
Let me give you two areas that he is talking about. One of it is the compulsory social responsibility, and the other is the fact that the company will list on the stock exchange, Ghanaians can buy shares, etc., etc. Look, all of this does not make any difference. You know why? Because every company can engage in social responsibility activities. If we set up our own company to run this whole lithium enterprise, of course, the company will have, even GMPC, they give money out for so many activities. Don't we hear about it? So these are not anything that can, for me, can convince me. If you want to talk about shares, well, MTN, listed on the stock exchange, allow people to buy. I don't know how many profits Ghanaians have earned out of that. When the company is in control, there's no way you can be able to, determine exactly how much you can make. They tell you how much you can make. It's simple as that. And that is, you see, this is inherent in what we call ownership. If you once you retain the ownership, that entitles you to have control in a manner that allows you access to the numbers, and it is out of the numbers you can make the maximum profit. And so you cannot ship off the resource and then come back and say Ghanaians can buy. I mean, the bottom line is that it is only when the company declares dividends that you can profit. If the company does not declare dividends, you own shares for nothing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
Lawyer, I think we'll leave it here, and definitely we'll engage you again as this debate still continues. We're seeing what Parliament will also do. I know that IEA is pushing for Parliament to reject the lease agreement.
Yes, I'm in support of that, and I'm urging Parliament to reject this agreement, and they should go back to the drawing table. We can work out the numbers again in such a manner that whatever investment the company has done in its exploratory activities and taking on the risk can be capitalized in a manner that they can get all their money back, whilst retaining at least a certain portion of ownership in probably in a joint venture. Ghana can also retain our mineral resource and maintain our ownership, and that would grant us, managerial as well as, board membership, etc. Effectively giving us access to the numbers, know what is going on the grounds, then we can get our money. That's the only way we can maximize our profits and our benefits from this mineral resource and get enough money so we can develop our country instead of going begging bonds, IMF, etc. It's embarrassing. Enough is enough. Over 60 years of independence, we need to change the way we do things.
Lawyer Isaac Mintalabi, I'm grateful for speaking to us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.